Look what you did, you little jerk. Well, we did that song when like the whole Arizona thing was happening, where they could like pull. It was like 2013, maybe 2012, where they Arizona like we can pull people up without reason and ask to see their citizenship, and everyone's going nuts. But I feel like it holds true more now that than then, with everything going on with ICE and immigration and border patrol and everything like that. Because what we did was, I don't know why I even decided to do that. It was literally 5 seconds before the show. I saw the guitar. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. When we did that song live, I just started dating Jen, and I'd be like, hey, sweetie. And then Joe's like, who's that, Matt? And I'd be like, it's my girlfriend. And he'd go, she doesn't look white. And I go, she's not. She's Mexican. And he'd go, Matt, that's a dangerous idea. And I go, what do you mean? And then we jumped into that song.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things.
It's a good setup. If you're just joining us, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe. We just missed a really funny racist song by Clark the Shark earlier.
Anti-racist.
Today, we're going to veer off track, but I think it's a relevant conversation to have regarding video games turned into movies. The video game industry right now is out of control with not only its sales and the money that it makes, but these tournaments that are going on where video games are becoming the next sport, like the next, like, I guess companies, or I don't even know what it is, they sell out arenas like it's a basketball game.
It's like a concert almost.
Yeah.
It's basically today's equivalent to how popular like
Highlight
Olympics were, like in the early 90s. I mean, Olympics are still popular, but really that was like, they used to be like this huge thing where you would watch no matter what. Like I remember as a kid, just you watch the Olympics. It was like this special thing. It's almost like this marathon of video games. And on the surface, if you're not familiar with it, it seems funny, but really, like, it kind of makes sense. Video games are just so popular, and they're much more advanced they were than like when we were kids, that it's like kind of amazing to watch these guys and girls do as well as they do.
Isn't it so annoying to hear
Marathon.
people talk shit on people that play a lot of video games, like, you know, get outside and do something. It's like,
Yeah,
but you were playing jacks and hopscotch,
right?
And, like, stupid shit games. Sorry that your game sucked back then, but these are the games that we have now. Sorry that they're like 1,000 times better.
And why can't you do both? I and yourself, I'm sure, we're in that like kind of weird generational gap where we played outside a lot, but we played a lot of video games because like Nintendo was new, Super Nintendo was new, mostly Nintendo, but we still went outside and like played street hockey and basketball, and then like you still played video games. It was weird.
Right, it was perfect. I mean, the Zennial generation, this little like gap between Gen Xers and millennials. We played outside. We had video games that weren't overly engrossing. You know, they didn't require a 4-hour, actually 24-hour like sit down. You couldn't play with people across the street, let alone across the globe. Right. So it allowed you to. And now that we're adults, we can play these all engrossing games, and it's just kind of our checkout. It's our little break. It's our little me time.
Right, and with the Wii, which kind of makes things more, you know, you work more parts of your body and exercise. It's kind of a lazy man's way of being like, I am working out. I'm playing Wii bowling, and you're like, you're just moving your right arm. It's like, would you rather have me jacking off? No, he's working out. He's really getting an exercise. But yeah, I feel like the video game culture, it's interesting, and I know you mentioned we're veering off track, but comic books and video games have no, I mean, I know you said we're veering off track with this episode, but I feel like comic books and video games do go hand in hand in a lot of ways because they're both graphically charged devices, if you will, that anyone from like a little child to an adult can get into. But they've missed the mark. I feel like comic books and video games have not went parallel side by side all this time. It's very, very hit or miss, mostly miss with comic book or superhero adaptations into video games. I feel like a lot of them, they just throw skins on, you know, pre-designed games, and you're like, it's the Hawk, and you're like, it's just kind of the same as Mario, but he's like just jumping around and punching, and there's bricks breaking. It's weird.
So
It's a weird
right,
thing.
so right after Disney announced that they bought Fox and they, assumed all the characters from Marvel that were left
Yeah.
over, the X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, etc. Um, they came out with a video game with everyone. Eventually you could unlock every single character that's ever appeared on a page of a comic book.
Right.
Dude, I'm not a video game guy, but obviously, like you just mentioned, these worlds intersect. So the news of it is hard for me to avoid. So many complaints for like the first month on how everyone looks. It's like this is an Avengers Marvel video game, and Thor looks nothing like he does, like nothing like Chris Hemsworth. Iron Man looks nothing like Robert Downey Jr. and etc. They pulled the game from the shelves and remastered it to make everybody look more like everyone in the movies.
Right.
Look at them just trying to half-ass a game at like a time where everyone's buying everything Marvel.
Right. It's true. And it's not what you said is not dissimilar to what they did with like Super Mario Brothers 2, which wasn't a Mario game. It's just that the first one became so popular, they just took some weird like Japanese game and threw the characters in there. That's why Super Mario Brothers 2, if you're familiar with it, is so weird and different. It's not it's just
Oh,
bizarre. And when you're talking about the Avengers game, I've seen that game. I mean, when you think about how popular superhero movies are in comic films, comic book films, what's the next best thing to do that? I mean, you're not going to go out and buy the costumes and dress up like them. I mean, you might if you're weird, but wouldn't you like how can you be them? What's the next best thing? It's video games. It's to play them. It's to get involved. So they throw them out there, and the Avengers one that you're talking about is so was thrown together so quickly, and the mobile version of it, like the one that you get on iPads and iPhones, is like one of the worst games ever because it's just this bulky, side-scrolling like mess. But they're like, just throw it out there, people will buy it. So
yeah,
it was kind
looked
of a miss.
that was totally the reflection I got of it. It was like it looks like they half-assed this just to get it out there, and they were like, yeah, just put everybody in it, and it's like.
Totally.
I bet you once you start playing, you notice like really bad details that they missed, like
Right.
like Iron Man is shooting webs out of his hands,
Yeah.
and
Hulk is
Spider
blue.
Man, yeah, right,
Right. They didn't take their time.
exactly, yeah.
There's a lot of games like that too. There's like I feel like with video games, comic book or superhero video games, it's either great or they're terrible. Like Superman for N64 is unplayable, let alone unwatchable. There's two versions of Hulk for PS2. One is one of the best video games ever. The other one is like one of the worst.
Oh,
But
really?
they came out like not too far apart from each other.
I remember the whole game. Is that the game where you could like rip a car in half and use it as like a boxing glove while you were like fighting?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
that was
game.
one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you see that. And Star Wars missed the mark on a lot of their games too. They threw like some of the Lego ones are really fun, but they
Oh,
threw together a lot of them very quickly. Like when Phantom Menace came out, it was so popular again and had such a resurgence that they just released so many video games, and a lot of them were like just what you said, just throw them out there, just get them out. And you're like, it's not too good.
And it's insane because you would think with a video game, you're like, dude, there's so many less restrictions compared to the movie world. Taking a comic book and putting it on a screen. In a video game, you could recreate so much, and you have so much space and so much time. I always keep hearing that the Batman video games, especially the ones that have come out in like the last like 5 to 10 years. A lot of them based in like Arkham Asylum. So
Yeah.
you have the big cast of villains like we've spoken about before. Batman has the best villains. It's not even a conversation.
Yeah.
So that would lend it to kind of like where Batman keeps like missing in the movies theater since The Dark Knight.
Right.
They're knocking it out of the park in the video game world.
Yeah, they're killing it. And those games you mentioned, the Arkham Asylum ones for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 4, are like probably the best superhero video games that were ever made. Even the Lego one for Xbox One
Really?
is incredible. Yeah, because they do all they basically in that game I know because I played it at my brother-in-law's house. He plays it like all the time. That's why his marriage is failing. No, I'm kidding. They branch every Batman from the '60s one, like the who was the actor that played Batman in the '60s?
Adam West.
Adam West. They branch like the Adam West one with the music and the costumes, and then they like evolve all the way to like present day Batman. So they like
Shut
encompass.
up.
Yeah, it's so good. Like after you beat the game, or if you save the game, there's like a spot where he's like climbing up the building on the rope, and the Adam West and the music like the din and it's like really cool.
What game is that?
This is the Lego Batman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really fun. But Batman I thought, has always been consistent. People are split on Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Nintendo game. Like 50% of people think it's like the greatest, 50% of people think it suck. The Batman Nintendo game, he is like kind of a purplish hue. I thought it was a fun game, but it does get really hard really quick, and it is kind of like ridiculous.
It gets hard really quick, and it also gets very boring. Like you can only do like one move for like a while, and it's this weird like Batman like jab, like reach poke punch. I hated it. And yeah, he was purple, and the graphics were horrendous. The Ninja Turtle game though, it doesn't have an ending.
Yeah,
it's like a race without a finish line.
The Ninja Turtle game is the perfect game that. By the way, I don't play a lot of video games. I just played these a lot when I was younger, so I know this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But because I should probably revisit them. But the Turtle game was so much fun to play for a while, and then you're like, I can't beat this. I'm turning it off, and then you'd forget about it, and you'd visit like a month later. You're like, yeah, it was just too long, and it got really hard like halfway through, like almost unbeatable.
I just remember getting to a point where I was like, didn't we fight this boss already? I thought we just beat him like a half hour ago.
Right. Yeah, people are kind of split. But the Ninja Turtle video games were pretty much universally acclaimed like after that. Like the Turtles in Time and the arcade side scrollers where you could jump in with any character at any time were like great because they were just like fights. It was like not just nonstop fighting like Foot Clan.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't like the Turtle Nintendo game got kind of weird because you were like underwater diffusing bombs, and they did some weird stuff in there.
Gosh, dude, now that you like mention it, like how easy it must be to just copy and paste games and just like switch, like change a character, but everything else is basically color things different, everything's the same. They probably did that with so much. We just weren't paying attention.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
even a lot of, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I got a list here of the best video games turned into movies. I know you love lists.
Love lists.
As I do too.
All about lists. Just call me Schindler. How are we doing in here, Munich? He's a good guy. He saved a lot of people. You can use that reference.
A lot of people were comparing Joker to Schindler's List because it's so good, but it's not a movie you're rushing to go watch twice.
Oh. I don't know, man. I think Schindler's List is a little darker. I don't know if I'd compare the two. They're both great films, but I would never say Joker's like Schindler's List. Schindler's List is a true account of Jews being killed by the millions.
True, but I can't I don't feel it. Like I don't feel the sorrow for so many millions of people. I can't wrap my brain around it. In Joker, it was like one-on-one, and it was like I just feel bad for this.
It was more personal
guy for 2 hours. I can't. It's hard to feel bad for like this giant group of people that I don't know. That was my only difference. It hit me more between the eyes.
That makes sense.
One guy.
Joker 2 was also kind of. I'm sorry. It was kind of. The violence level in that didn't impact me. I think like The Sopranos was just as violent. I mean, I don't think there was any I don't think Joker made any waves with adding new violence to films. I mean, if you've seen Scarface or anything, I mean that was more violent than Joker. I don't. It was a violent film, but I don't think it was like, oh, I got to walk out. This is too violent. I mean, it's nothing you haven't seen on HBO or Braveheart or something like that. I mean, it's up close and personal, but it wasn't like, yo, he's cutting a guy's dick off and you're seeing it. It wasn't like gory,
Every Joker you've seen before this one was more violent. Heath Ledger blew up a hospital.
Yeah, it killed a bunch of people. Yeah. It's crazy.
A children's hospital. So here's the list. We'll go in reverse order from number 7. I think it's 7 to number 1. Number 7 overall film adaptation of a video game. Number 7, Mortal Kombat. This was the first one for me.
You mean this is a list of like great adaptations
Yeah.
from video game to movie?
Like box office, like the most successful
Oh yeah.
earnings. Mortal Kombat number 7. I remember seeing Mortal Kombat. We were in like 8th grade, maybe.
Yeah.
And 95, 7th or 8th grade. I loved it. I thought it was so good. It was simple. Everybody got to do their superpower, like all their shit, their special moves.
It's a fun ride.
The story was a bad guy, and I mean, it was a tournament, and the tournament was kind of sketchy, and I love it.
It's a fun ride. It's a fun ride.
Yeah. Number 6, Detective Pikachu.
Never saw it. I missed that one.
Me too, but it's Ryan Reynolds, so I'm sure I would enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they did a good job.
He's more than half the reason why it made a lot of money.
Pikachu.
Pika.
Bulbasaur.
Jigglypuff.
Lickitung.
Number 5, Final Fantasy Advent Children.
Never got into the Final Fantasy universe, games or movies. It was too nerdy for me. It was like Myst or like, Dungeons and Dragons kind of territory. Like we're getting the World of Warcraft, which, by the way, I should open up the show with that song. We had a song called World of Warcraft, Will Never Get You Laid, and we played it on a mandolin, and I had like a lute, but it was just like a little flute.
Oh, dude, you got to play that song to open this show.
It was so good, but it was like, World of Warcraft will never get you laid. Your level 9 magic, your 8th 10 spade. World of... And we were singing like 11th century lutes. No, it was World of Warcraft will never get you laid. Your level 9 magic, something, dragon you have slayed, or something like that. But it was basically making fun of those people. But it was great. But it was on a lute. Joe actually had like a lute that it was like like a minstrel show from like the 1300s in front of a king.
Ooh, yeah, right.
We'll never get you laid. Anyway, yeah, I never got into the Final Fantasy. There were so many of them too. There was like 16 of them now or something. It's crazy.
I was gonna say I thought there was like 12 10 years ago. Yeah, there is not a nerdier title to anything than Final Fantasy.
It's fitting though, because that really is the Final Fantasy those people will ever be having. There's nothing beyond that. There's no real like sexual fantasies coming down. That is the Final Fantasy for them.
Final Fantasy. Was that like the first one where you like built your own person and you could like interact with someone else who built their own person and basically bang them?
I think so, yeah. It was like the first customizable character.
RPG.
Yeah.
That was in 2005. Number
RuneScape.
Number 4 here on the list, and I don't think Angelina Jolie was in this one, Tomb Raider. Did they reboot it? Because it's just Tomb Raider, not Lara Croft.
Yeah, they just rebooted it like 2 years ago. Great game, though. I mean, when that first came out, it was like revolutionary.
Yeah, another one I've never played, but obviously super, super famous. I know Angelina Jolie played her in the movie, and that apparently didn't do as well as these. Number 3, Warcraft. Just Warcraft. I feel like that's another World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that one.
Video game guys are like thumbs downing us right now.
Warcraft.
You don't know Warcraft?
No, it's great. Warcraft is a great flick. It's very Kubrickian, and it's Godfather-esque. It's a great film. Love it.
All these titles are like also negative. They all have like negative connotation. Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider, Warcraft. Number 2, Resident Evil. The whole series. They just ranked that number 2. Resident Evil. What is that? It's like zombies?
Yeah, I always thought Resident Evil was probably the best adaptation from video games to movies, because those were the only video games that really like would scare you when they came out that you played, because you're just going through a dark room and like a zombie would come out and start eating you, and it was like scary. And the first movies, at least the first 2 were like excellent. It's Mia Jovovich like killing zombies, and it's like this weird umbrella corporation. Like it's just bizarre. I thought they were great.
I remember trailers for either the movie or the video game. I could never tell them apart. And being like, oh, I don't know, that looks fucking scary as shit to me. Like the setting alone
So
looked
scary.
terrifying. And
Yeah.
like dogs, maybe were there dogs involved in Resident Evil?
Yeah, there were zombie dogs. They were
Oh,
like these mutated dogs because the way the virus worked in those movies, it was called the T virus, and it was kind of like um, 28 Days Later, where like this rage virus would just take over you and turn you into this like super mutant.
oh,
And those movies were always scarier than and the video games than like just The Walking Dead or the zombies in The Walking Dead and other ones because like a lot of those movies you just shoot them in the head once they're dead. These
yeah.
guys you had to really like blow them in the head because they were like super strong, like
Oh,
they were relentless and fast. They weren't like these slow things. They were like
right.
super animated and coming at you. Like you really had to take them down.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
Such a such a memorable title. And number one, another that I have not played nor seen, but I've heard about over and over and over, Assassin's Creed.
Creed. Never saw the movie, but the games are pretty good.
Assassin. Is that the guy that's kind of like in a white like hood, white and red?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a white or red hood or a black one, and the games are cool because
Something like that.
they do weird stuff in a lot of them. Like they throw the assassin in like the Revolutionary War, so it's like the assassin, and he's like fighting redcoats with muskets. Like it's weird.
What?
Yeah.
I think my brother-in-law was playing that once, Justin, and he was climbing up buildings during like the the revolutionary times. I
Yeah.
was like,
It's like
what
time travel.
oh fuck.
Yeah, it gets cray.
Because there's a game Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed
Gooey.
Rogue. I mean, this guy's got a
It's a
lot of
lot.
games. And the movie, it was awesome. Who played him in the movie? Do you have any idea?
No, I did not. I'm surprised Punisher wasn't on that list. I think Punisher is a little bit better than
Oh,
Final Fantasy.
uh-huh. Wow, I'm amazed that Assassin's Creed, I mean, it's number one, which means it earned the most. And the guy who played Magneto, the young Magneto, is him, I think, or is it?
World of Warcraft will never get you laid.
Hold on a sec. Let me dig
So,
into here.
surprised
2006
Super Mario Brothers wasn't on that list. Remember the Mario Brothers movie? Remember how bad that was?
That's on the worst list. I have a top something.
Oh, that has to top it. It was like Bob Hoskins. I have my own show, and it's like, what?
I have the list the worst. It's like the top 10 worst movies in the theaters. Now
Nice.
I want to find out who the hell is playing in this Assassin's Creed. I guess it came out on Netflix. I feel like I'm getting so many facts wrong, so I'm just going to leave a comment. Correct me down in the comments section. The top worst films adapted from a video game. This is so weird. Number 8,
Slice it.
the Angry Birds movie, at 43%.
Yeah. That's like the Emoji Movie. Like you just don't have to make it because it's popular on cell phones. It's just one of those things where like, yo, because somebody at the studio brass, some idiot was like, yo, how many people are using emojis? Statistics show 4 billion. Let's do a movie about it because that's our audience. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't work that way. People also take shits every day. You're not doing a movie about that. Stop.
That's a literal cash grab.
100%.
At 23%, Super Mario Bros.
He has his own show.
I have my own show. My name is Mario, and I have my own show.
We talked about that in a previous show, and you're like, "That's not the lyric," and I was like, "No, it should be," because that was basically the idea. It was like, "I have my own show. I'm not offering anything to the table." I wonder if Mario came out today, if people would be offended by it at the representation of Italians. Like he's a plumber. They all have big mustaches. That's so offensive. I'm offended.
Isn't it so gay? It's like they all. It's like no, just that guy.
Yeah, just that
That's
guy.
one guy named Mario, and that's just the way he looks. Why are you applying it to everyone? At 19%, Doom.
Doom. Great game. Terrible movie.
I think I have played the computer game Doom. Like I played it on a gateway, a Dell.
Yeah, the original Doom, like Doom 2, the original for the computer. I think I logged like weeks of that game. I got like a pirated copy from a friend, and I was just playing it, and it was just like this murderous great game, and you're like killing Nazis with chain guns.
You change the gun, and you're just like walking through, and
It
then all of
was
a sudden
great.
every game looked like Doom.
The movie's a fun ride, though. It's a really shitty movie, but it's not a movie that I watched that I was like, oh, so bad. You're like, no, it's bad, but it's fun. Like they do the first person view where like The Rock, because The Rock's in it, Carl Urban. The Rock is the main guy, like the main military commando. They do a shot where he's going around in first person with like the different guns and switching them and like shooting all these things. It's a fun ride, but it's not a great movie.
It's The Rock. The Rock's in it.
Yeah, The Rock's in it. He's like the lead guy. I mean, how bad can it be? It's The Rock. Like, let's do it.
Kicking ass.
Yeah, it's fine.
At 14%, one of a groundbreaking game, one of the most fun games, with the best sound effects maybe ever from a video game.
Oh,
Hadouken! Street Fighter.
I was just gonna say it has to be Hadouken.
Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom.
Okay, now we're getting into like the top 3 worst ever box office video games adapted into movies. At 3%, House of the Dead. House of the Dead.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that.
God, man, zombie stuff is just everywhere. There's just like pockets of zombie niche shit, like in every medium.
Everything. I feel like it's so oversaturated that people are stopped watching it, but it's going to have a resurgence in like 3 years.
Yeah,
because people are sick of zombies now. They've been popular since like 2008, and then Walking Dead came out in 2010, and it was like overkill. But now I feel like people have stopped doing that. And that's going to come back in like 3 years. You're going to see like something original. Because remember, Black Summer came out, and I thought that should have been more popular than it was. I think it was Netflix. It was like a Netflix original. Oh, fuck, it wasn't Netflix, but it was basically a zombie movie, but unlike one you've ever seen, or a series, where like main characters would just get killed and forgotten all of a sudden. It was like a more realistic. It was really good, but I felt like it came and went very quickly, and that was the end of it.
Black Summer.
Yeah.
Black Summer. I didn't watch it on the Netflix. And number 2. This is funny.
He has his own show.
2%. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Now, was that the sequel to the original?
Yeah.
Holy hell! What a drop off.
Yeah, that was an annihilation of a film.
And number 1. At 1%, Alone in the Dark.
I don't even know what that is.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of either.
Right.
Alone in the Dark, because my name's Matthew Clark.
Alone in the Dark is a survival horror game series originally developed by Infogrames. In most of the games, the player controls private investigator Edward Carnby, who goes to investigate a haunted mansion or town that is full of undead. It's another zombie thing, dude.
Alone in the Dark.
Undead creatures.
It's crazy. It's okay.
Yeah. It's dope.
That probably makes sense though that we haven't heard of it. Like it probably is that bad. Like, not even familiar with it. Like that's the mark of a truly bad film. Because people could always argue like everyone knows Mario Brothers is bad. It's like yeah, but everyone still knows it. Somebody's work is still known and seen. Where some of these lesser ones, you're like, no, it was that bad, dude. The studio didn't even promote it. It's bad. It's bad. It's great. I was at Marty York's house before we went to go see Joker, and we were playing on his arcade, and we played Street Fighter, and he's really like into winning those games. Where he's like,
I can't believe he doesn't like rip the joysticks out of the
he was
the frame there.
He was close to it, so he was beating me, but then I became Blanca, and I was just using the electricity to zap him, and he's like, "What are you gonna just keep doing that to win?" And I'm like, oh, like you're really like into this. So I kind of like laid back and let him win one.
Tried to like fight like
Yeah, I tried to fight normal. I didn't let
finesse.
him win. He won, but he was really into it. He's like, "Oh, you almost got me on that one. Nice try." And I'm like, "You're really into this game, dude.
We
I
need to
don't
have,
want to lose. I don't want to win because like you're a big guy and you're obviously raged up now."
if you don't
So
know, Marty York played Yeah Yeah in Sandlot, and Matt and him are friends in real life, and they play video games. They went to see the Joker together, and I imagine him being like a little too intense to ever play video game. Like if I was at his house and he was like, "Hey, you want to play Street Fighter?" I'd be like, "Nope,
nope. Yeah,
no."
it was so
I'll
intense.
watch
It was the equivalent. What I remember as a kid playing with like some neighbor kid, and they get really into it. Like they throw the controller or something, and they're like, "Oh, what the fuck!" Like he was really into it, and I was just like drinking. We were doing some shots. I'm like, ah, it doesn't matter if I win or lose. It's just playing a game.
Yeah.
But he got into. I'm not knocking him, but he got into it. And I was like, oh,
I want to have him on and talk to him about his intensity for video games.
he's
Does he
played them
have any
all.
other arcades?
He has every arcade game ever made on this machine. He spent like thousands of dollars on it. He got a discount because like he promoted the guy or plugged them. But it has every game from the 70s to like the 2015 on there. Literally every game. I'm like, hey, how about Jaws this or
Right.
Pac-Man? Everything.
What
Like
about this? I need to know this. The
everything.
the classic 90s WWF wrestling game WrestleFest.
All the wrestling games are on there. We played one. We played Royal Rumble.
Oh,
Um,
the best game.
I love it. It was so good. I was Macho Man. I think he was Flair. No, I think he was Undertaker. But it was great. The thing with those video games, arcade games though, is they don't really get my attention because you're still like moving this big bulky joystick and these buttons, and I'm like, I'd rather just like do this and on a TV. It's weird. I never really was an arcade guy. Like they're just too bulky.
You know what it is for me in
Just isn't work.
video games as a whole, but the arcade especially, because you're so stuck, you're so stationary.
Right.
It's the commitment. It's
Right.
like I have to zero everything into this one
Right.
thing that has no meaning. Like there's no I mean, I hate coordination, maybe some self confidence if I beat the board, but I usually don't. So what is the benefit of playing a video game?
At the end of the day, you're really
Taking
just
all my
wasting
attention.
time. You're really just looking at a wall or a screen, wasting time. That's
I
really
know.
all it is.
Yeah, it's like
I
I feel
find myself.
I
What's
like
that?
wasting time with like more than one thing.
Yeah, I have to multitask. I like to have music on, maybe like writing some stuff for the show,
Yeah.
and like there's something else in the background that I'm like poking back at. Because I find
Yeah.
myself playing video games and Jen will come in like, "Hey, you want this?" I'm like, "Hold on, I'm in the middle of something," and then I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, this is a game. Well, let's like, I shouldn't be wasting any time on this thing." But you
I know.
do.
It's like it's like, all right, I have set time to go like burn time and just go like do whatever I want. I'm gonna go play a video game. But like if you need something or there's like an emergency, I'll be able to walk away from it.
Right. I'm just
But
gonna
then
go.
it's like, I don't know. I'm just
It's cray.
there's times where I get really, really into video games. Like I
Oh
had this
yeah. Yeah.
crazy, it was I felt like the way I did when I first stumbled into the Doors, like way after I got into like that
Oh.
era of music. I like found
Yeah.
later. Pac-Man. I had this revolution,
Really?
this renaissance, this Pac-assance, and I was addicted to Pac-Man because it is really hard to like get
No, it
far.
is. Yeah.
It's like
Pac-Man Jones.
it borderline gets impossible.
It
Pac-Man.
does. You're playing it and you're like, no, this is simple. It's just a bunch of dots. And then you're like, no, this is like I'm sweaty now. Like
Yeah,
my palms are sweaty. Like what is this?
those ghosts can move, baby.
I to me, Pac-Man was always a game I wanted to like more than I actually liked it because I always thought it'd be cool. Like the blue screen, the music, he's iconic. He's like the spokesperson for all video games. It's like Pac-Man.
Yeah.
He's the original. But you play it and it just gets hard and you're like, do something else. And it was everywhere. Like growing up, there was always like Pac-Man and like every pizza place. You're like, it's
Yes.
just everywhere. I should like this. Apparently, it's so popular, but you couldn't do it.
That's how I am with Donkey Kong. You know, people will
Oh
refer to
yeah.
Kong as so great, and I'm just like, yeah,
No,
it's fine, but I
it
don't know.
sucks.
I
The game
want to like it more.
sucks.
Yeah.
You're just run. Really, it sucks. Like I love the character. I love Super Mario Kart, Nintendo 64, playing Donkey Kong. He's like cool, all his games.
Yeah,
But like
yeah,
the
yeah.
original, you're like a shitty version of Mario jumping over barrels, and it's
Yeah.
like Ice Climber. That's just not good.
Oh, Ice Climber.
It's classic.
Ice Climber. On that note, we will end this segment of Comic-Jon video game movies, movie video games. Do they translate? You just found out. I don't know. Let us know. Comment, like, subscribe, help us out. I can't sit at a desk and fill out Excel spreadsheets anymore. Get us to be full-time YouTubers or not. It's your choice. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Tremendous. Really, really fantastic. I still have to ship you that green screen, man. I have it right here, and I totally forgot
about that.
I did too, like ADHD, because it's green and it blends in with like my computer cover